Usually when I do these episodes, I worry about copyright laws, especially when I'm using music that's not really owned by me, especially because YouTube does not exactly like it when I do that. For this video, for this episode, I'm just going to say this. Screw it. I really do not care. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of The Game Changer. I am the man who is indeed Shield for life and is definitely pro-Roman. Superman punch, spear. Nate the effing great. And guys, quite an emotional as well as crazy week of wrestling here in America especially. I know that there's probably things going on with New Japan, but unfortunately I'm not quite up to speed with that. So I'm just going to focus on everything that's going on here in America. My apologies. So I will be talking about Raw, Smackdown, Lucha Underground, as well as a bit of Impact Wrestling, and as well as the episode on the eve of WWE Evolution. It is tonight. It is on the network. Go check it out, you guys, and it's free for new subscribers. For those that have not subscribed yet, there's my cheap plug for that. If you haven't listened to my predictions on the event, go check out the recent video and episode that I did with King Ricky, where we gave our predictions as well as the punishment for the loser of these predictions. Also, this past week, I had VicTori Belle on, and we were talking about some great Halloween events as well as specials that you should definitely check out. A lot of stuff that went on this week, but let's get right into it. So, Raw opened up in the most emotional as well as heartbreaking way, because Roman Reigns came out and he announced that he was battling leukemia for the second time in his life. He had it when he was 22. Now, 11 years later, it has come back. And he opens up by stating an apology. It was legitimately one of those things that I was completely baffled by. And you also kind of noticed the way he was dressed. He was not dressed up in his gear. He wasn't dressed up in, like a t-shirt that he would usually be, showing off his merch. He was just regular Roman Reigns. Well, in this case, he was known as Joe. He used his real name, and obviously people who heard that knew that something real was going down. So, as soon as he talked about his name, he mentioned his battle with leukemia, he also announced that he was going to have to relinquish the Universal Championship. Legitimately, this was one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever seen, because Roman Reigns has worked so hard to get to that position that he's at right now. Battling all the critics, battling all the naysayers, all the people that have doubted him and have really just bombarded him because of the fact that he has been poorly booked and the fact that he is the golden child of WWE, quote-unquote. But he is a guy who has to work that much harder to keep everybody entertained. He has to work that much harder to help tell the story of everything that he is going through. And now he has to leave that and to take this battle with leukemia. He mentions that, as soon as he was football, they didn't want me, but WWE wanted him. They saw him as a star. They saw him as a great person. And he wants to come back. He said, don't consider this as a retirement speech, because after I'm done whooping leukemia's ass, I will be back bigger, badder, stronger than ever. And that is legitimately one of those things that we want so badly. Roman Reigns, you are indeed a phenomenal star. We miss you. We love you. And it's going to be one of those things where tuning into Raw tomorrow night is going to be so hard because you're not going to be able to see Roman Reigns. And everything that happened after that, you see the emotion. You hear fans are chanting, "Thank you, Roman. Thank you, Roman. Thank you, Roman." Social media is just exploding with so much, support. And one of the things that he definitely stated was that he wasn't looking for support and he wasn't looking for pity. He was just, he was being real with everybody. And that was really awesome. So Roman Reigns definitely deserved every single bit of respect that he got and all the support that he is getting right now. Like I said, after that speech, he has one of the most emotional, honestly, it's an emotional road. It's an emotional roller coaster just leaving the building, because after he put the belt in the ring, just like Daniel Bryan did a couple years ago with the Intercontinental title, he goes up the ramp, and who's there to meet him? None other than Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. And Rollins is just completely gone. You just see his eyes are just completely swelling up with tears. His face is just red. Dean Ambrose is trying so hard to just keep everything in. I will tell you guys, even right now, it is still hard to keep these emotions, keep them in. It's hard to not express the sorrow that you're feeling for Roman. It's one of those things where it sucks for him. The fact that he has to battle with leukemia for the second time in his life, it sucks. But we know that he is going to come back. He's going to be stronger. He is going to make a full recovery. And honestly, I'm hoping that he found out about this ASAP. Because the sooner that they find out about it, the sooner that they can prevent it from spreading, and the sooner that he can make a recovery and come back to his home in WWE. And honestly, guys, it was a really emotional moment just seeing that Shield bump again. Then we go on to another video that showed, obviously, I'm probably going to be jumping here and there as far as Raw goes, but they showed a video where Roman Reigns is just coming back to the curtain. People are clapping for him. He is just getting hugs. He's getting handshakes from so many people. Mentioned Sasha Banks was one of the most emotional people back there. I think there were a lot of people that definitely saw Roman as a leader and as a role model. And I think Sasha Banks really saw Roman as that role model for her. And she was just trying to be there. She was trying to be one of the first few people that he meets just to show how much she respects him. That is something that really is amazing. You just see how one person can make a difference in somebody's life. And I guess Sasha, Roman was that one person. There's another emotional deal where we see even Braun comes up and just gives Roman probably the biggest hug. And no, he did not lock him in that triangle hold. He just gives him the biggest hug that I have ever seen Braun give. It's one of those things where you just... Now you're just at the point where it's just like, we're already at heartbreak. Now we're just seeing like pieces of the heart just falling down your body. Just seeing all that support and all that love that WWE gave. There have been a lot of negative things about WWE over years. But one thing that always seems to stand the test of time is that WWE stars, superstars, so many of them are family. And they are just always there for each other. They're always there for support. They're always there to really just be there for each other. And this was the prime example of that. So they can say what they want about management. But when you talk about the actual stars, it is almost like they are they are like a second family to each other. They have so much respect for each other. You definitely saw that throughout Twitter, whether it was, the Usos, the people in the women's division, so many names that just showed their love and support to Roman. And it was just, it's one of those things where it's hard to move on from that. After that, you're just still in that moment. You're thinking, did this really happen? Did this really happen? I cannot believe that this actually happened. Roman is going through this again. It's so mind-boggling that there's still probably people now that are still even trying to grasp the fact that this is a reality. And it sucks, but honestly, you guys, like I said, Roman is going to be making a full recovery, guarantee it. Roman, you're in our thoughts and prayers, and we know that you will kick leukemia's ass. All right, man, that is just, it's just still a lot to take in, you guys. I watched the Roman Reigns promo for the second time, and I still cried. It is still one of the most emotional things that you will ever see. So many retirement speeches, so many moments where you hear about people passing. It hits you really hard. And this is definitely one of those moments that really hits you hard and really makes you appreciate professional wrestling, as well as all the wrestlers who definitely put their lives and their bodies on the line for everybody. And it really goes to show you that these people are indeed human. And we can't disrespect them. We can't say we're better than them. We can't say we're worse than them. We are on the same level as them because of the fact that they are still human, just like everyone. All right, so I'm going to try to move on, guys. This is tough. Because how do you move on from that? We had our first matchup of the night on Raw, in which we saw Finn Balor defeat Bobby Lashley. Now, this was one of those things that I was legitimately surprised, but also very happy about. Because Finn Balor has always just been either jobbed out or he's just been beating. It's just one of those things where it's like, why isn't Finn Balor not been given a break? And finally, in my opinion, this was one of the bigger upsets of his career, was beating Bobby Lashley. And it was still a pretty good matchup. If you mute the Lio Rush deal, it was still a pretty good matchup wrestling-wise. Now, as far as to why Lashley lost, there has been some speculation that he has been dealing with an injury, which is a separated shoulder, from what people have been saying. Now, hopefully this is one of those situations where somebody has actually caught this early enough where if he does need surgery, he can get it maybe within the next week or by now. And hopefully he is, getting that surgery. That way he can get that taken care of and maybe be back in time for WrestleMania. If we don't know. It's one of those things where we don't know the severity of the injury. But we also know nothing. I will talk a little bit more about this when I talk about SmackDown. Samoa Joe is also dealing with an injury as well, and I'll also bring up an interesting point. But I will talk more about that when I do in SmackDown. I'll start that off with the SmackDown deal. We had a matchup between Ruby Riott and Sasha Banks, in which Ruby Riott picked up the victory here, which was a bit of a surprise for me, because this was Sasha Banks' first match on since her injury, which a lot of people believe it was a concussion, some people thought it was a minor injury. We don't know all the details, but this was basically a matchup that was a build to the 6-woman tag match that would take place tonight, being Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Natalya taking on the Riot Squad. So this will be a very interesting set of circumstances. Right now, seeing Ruby Riott picking up the victory, I'm okay with it, but it's just one of those things where it's like, this is kind of interesting. I would have figured that Sasha Banks would have came back and, would have came back from an injury and won, but we don't know. So, from there, we had the DX promo with the Brothers of Destruction. A very, very interesting deal. It's another one of those things where it does seem to really build up the matchup between the two of them, between the four of them, I should say, at Crown Jewel pretty well. I'm not going to focus too much on it because I'm already kind of excited to see it, but at the same time, Crown Jewel I'm not exactly excited about, period. Alright, so another thing that happened here was Paul Heyman came out. He put Roman over immensely, as Paul Heyman could only do. And they eventually reached a decision about the Universal Championship. What's to do, which is always tough, especially when it's dealing with an injury, an illness, whatever it is for the former champion. And the decision that they made was that at Crown Jewel, it would be now, instead of a triple threat, it would be a singles matchup, in which it would be Braun Strowman versus Brock Lesnar for the vacant Universal Championship. So, Paul Heyman is putting over Brock Lesnar like crazy after putting over Roman. He actually transitioned it perfectly. It was one of those things where you were kind of worried about how he would do this, because he definitely had to go from, a somber, sad note to a, I guess you could say, positive note. And he found a way to do it, as Paul Heyman could only do. Eventually, this would bring out Braun Strowman, though, in which he, of course, puts over Roman Reigns as well, talking about how Roman is going to basically get the first shot after he wins the title, and that Brock Lesnar is going to get these hands. He's about ready to leave, but he turns around into a Claymore kick from Drew McIntyre. And I will tell you guys this, that before this even happened, Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre had a deal where they were talking about, hey, we got to defend the tag team titles. Careful and blah, blah, blah. And Drew McIntyre talks about going monster hunting. So you saw that, and then you followed it up with this deal. It was beautiful. But I will tell you guys this, that as you would have guessed, it does play a factor in the tag team title matchup that we will talk about in just a bit. Elias defeated Apollo Crews. That was it was an okay matchup. It wasn't one of those things where I was like totally impressed, but it definitely was one of those matches where it's like, wow, Apollo Crews is still pretty good. But Elias picked up the victory, which was a really good start. We had this I thought was really cool. So Elias, after defeating Apollo Crews, we thought that we were going to get a concert from him, but then Baron Corbin came out and basically said, hey, I need to handle business, so you need to skedaddle. And I think he actually insulted Elias, if I'm not mistaken. I think he basically said, what I have to say is more important than your singing. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, oh God, this guy just needs to get his ass whooped. So basically, what ends up happening is that Elias leaves. Baron Corbin is just basking in what he thinks is, the cheers for him. But nope, it's for Elias. He comes back. Elias bashes Corbin in the back with the guitar, officially and seemingly turning Elias heel. So a lot of things are actually going on with this, where some people are going to have to be, heels, and some people are going to have to be faces. They're kind of painted in a corner right now. Raw is really painted in a corner because you lost your huge baby face in Roman Reigns. You lost a huge heel in Kevin Owens, and I could argue also Sami Zayn. So a lot of these people are going to have to turn heel. Some will have to turn, face, because that way you're still structuring the show well. You can still have like an even amount of, oh, hey, we have a face here that can mesh up with this heel here. Or you have this new heel here, he can mesh up with this baby face here. And honestly, I'm hoping that this does evolve into a Bobby Roode heel turn, because heel Bobby Roode equals happy people. All right, so we get an exclusive contract signing with Ronda Rousey and Nikki Bella. So during this deal, I will say this, that this was one of those things where it tied up the talk basis between the two of them. Because basically, Nikki Bella and Brie, they were scared to get in the ring. And Asuka. God, I want Asuka versus Ronda now. Ronda basically said, hey, I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to do the contract signing. That's it. You have my word. That was one of those things where we realized, oh boy, this is going to be interesting. So, Nikki and Brie get in the ring, assuming that, Ronda was going to keep her word. And I will say this, spoiler alert, she does. So, basically, Nikki has probably one of the best promos of the entire feud that these two have been having, where she is basically talking about how she promised so much to her mother, how she promised to be, undefeated in the UFC, how she promised to be so many different things, and how she promises to be, the Raw Women's Champion. And she basically says that's going to come to an end this Sunday. She slaps Ronda in the face, and after Nikki signs it, Ronda signs it, and she says, I will end you. I will say this, it was kind of one of those things where it's like, it's a badass moment by Ronda, but as far as everything goes, I had to give it to Nikki on that one. So it's kind of a tie-up between the two of them, as far as talking wise, but now we're going to get to the wrestling wise this tonight. Oh boy, it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. Oh, I'm looking forward to Evolution. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Oh man. Also, guys, if you are in fact going to WWE Evolution, shout out to my boys at the Wrestle Addict Radio, Kings of the Rings podcast, Rant With That. So many of the great network podcasts that are on that, they're actually having a tailgating party there. Go check them out, say hi to them, have conversations with them, and heck, buy some of their stuff there. I think that they're actually having a nice little potluck deal going on there in which all the proceeds are actually going to be going to research for cancer. I believe it's for breast cancer, if I'm not mistaken. It is not a trick. It's not one of those things where they're trying to, just take money to say that they took money or blah, blah, blah. This is legitimately for a really good cause, guys. So if you're in the area, if you're going to WWE Evolution at the Nassau Coliseum, by all means, go to the tailgating party. Have fun with wrestling fans and the wrestling community. It is something you definitely will not regret. Talk about something positive about this oh gosh, why is this? No. I forgot about this. I was hoping this wasn't this week. There was a fatal four-way matchup between Ember Moon, Nia Jax, Dana Brooke, and Tamina. Legitimately, I'm looking at my results, and there's a video that has a minute and 34. I feel like it was less than that. It was literally just like a quick Thanos snap, and that was how fast the match was. Ember Moon picked up the victory. Moving along with that. So throughout the month, obviously, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and they have definitely, during this month, we've seen a lot of people come out and they're being celebrated as breast cancer awareness survivors. Another group of women definitely were introduced by Titus O'Neil and really given all the support. I really love these segments. I really do, because it definitely shows that, if you fight and if you continue to stay strong, you can conquer anything. And these women who have conquered breast cancer definitely are the prime example of that. This is always really awesome. I love these deals. It's just always good to see these segments. All right, and then we go on to the main event. Let me say this. We started on an emotional note, and we ended on an emotional note. We had Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose dethrone Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre for the Raw Tag Team Championship. This was a really good matchup. I'm going to tell you that, first off. Second off, Braun Strowman got involved after the referee got knocked down. Was that really a surprise? No. No, it really wasn't. So Braun takes Drew out of the matchup. Dolph Ziggler is there to fend for himself. Everybody's just getting electric. They're just happy. Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins have won the Raw Tag Team titles. But Dean Ambrose does the unthinkable by assaulting Seth Rollins. So many people wanted to see Dean Ambrose turn heel. They were not. I guarantee you, there's not a single person that was expecting Dean Ambrose to turn heel tonight. No one expected that. It's one of those moments where it just shocked me. I literally did not even know how to react to this. Like, I was at home giving Roman Reigns a standing ovation for that speech that he gave and for the support that I definitely wanted to give him. But for this, I just had a hard time wrapping my head around it. I was just like, is this really happening? Is Dean Ambrose really turning heel right now? Tonight of all nights? I don't understand it. It was one of those things where I was just completely baffled. And just, it's kind of one of those things where right now, you look at all the crap that Roman got, but I think one thing now that is going to be a firm confirmation about any theory about Roman Reigns is that he's the anchor as far as the Shield goes. He's the reason why the Shield seems to be working. He is one of those guys who just, he plays peacekeeper. He tries to basically be the moderator. He's almost like that parent that is getting between two siblings And now that the parent is gone, the siblings just can do whatever they want with each other. Dean Ambrose did that. He just beats the ever-living hell out of Seth Rollins and just leaves. I hear so many people, like, some people were saying, there were some people that were even cheering Dean, saying, like, yeah, he had every right to turn heel. He had every right to turn heel. So many theories about this, too. Like, there was a moment where I think Dean Ambrose say, why him, why him? I think a lot of people are thinking, why was it that, maybe he's doing this out of grief or something like that. Nobody really knows. It's just one of those things where I'm very interested in hearing how they capitalize on this. How are they going to really just... How's Dean going to explain himself? I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, I wouldn't even know how to even start with this. This was one of those nights where it's like, yeah, Raw definitely wins. No doubt. SmackDown will not top this, and I was right. And as a lot of people I definitely assumed that. There was no way that SmackDown was ever going to touch Raw after this. And it definitely shows. So let's go on to SmackDown, I guess. We had the Big Show taking on Kofi Kingston. I think it was the New Day. Basically, we're talking about how they were very shocked at what happened. They're kind of curious as to why Big Show turned heel again. I know, right? But then it resulted in a matchup where it would be Kofi Kingston getting a matchup between either Cesaro, Sheamus, or Big Show. It would turn out to be Big Show. And literally, this was just a moment where Big Show was just thinking, I'm just going to beat the ever-living crap out of Kofi Kingston, in which he did. He did, choke slam after choke slam after choke slam after choke slam. Finally, all hell breaks loose, ends in a no contest. But the bar stands tall. The bar show, I think they're calling it. I'm going to just call it the Big Barnyard Friends, because I stand by what I said. I think it was last week where I talked about this. It's just one of those things where I just see Big Show as just this giant farmer, and you have, the bull in Cesaro and the rooster in Sheamus. So the Big Barnyard Friends, that's what I'm calling them. And I would love to see somebody try to make like fan art of that or something like that. That'd be amazing. We had a rematch from last week in which the Usos defeated AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan after there was a miscommunication again. AJ Styles hit the Pele kick on Daniel Bryan by accident. And the Usos would indeed take advantage and hit a Uso splash. But if you notice really closely with this Uso splash, you would see that one of the Usos was doing the arm cock that Roman Reigns usually does as they were flying through the air. So one of them does the arm cock while he's doing the splash, hits it, 1, 2, 3. The Usos have picked up another victory over the WWE Champion and the number one contender. So this is going to be a fatal 4-way, maybe? I don't know. I just do not understand this deal. Some people are thinking like, well, it's for like competitive nature or something else like that. I just don't understand this. Because they're supposed to be fighting for a singles title, not tag team gold. These tag team matches just do not make sense to me. I don't understand it. We have a nice Miz TV segment with Rey Mysterio, who made his return last week against Shinsuke Nakamura. Oh God, why is that title not being utilized more? Shinsuke would just be amazing. Basically, Miz just cuts down Rey. Rey just says, let's fight, which evolves into a matchup between The Miz and Rey Mysterio, basically getting a preview of what could happen at WWE Crown Jewel, in which Rey Mysterio defeats The Miz with a 619, a splash. Yeah, nothing really too crazy about that. So we have all the women from the Battle Royal get involved in like a major fight. There's even a deal where they're like doing a dance off, and then they're just deciding, hey, let's just now beat each other up. It was just one of those things where it was really weird. It was just a cluster of a mess. I really just did not understand this segment. I don't know. It's weird. Now this was really cool. So Shane McMahon got on the mic, and he gets everybody amped up for the WWE Crown Jewel World Cup tournament, in which the winner would be basically described as the best in the world. He hypes up everybody, but during this segment, we hear a little gem from the fans, and we get another little gem from Shane McMahon. I will say this is one of the first few times that they have not bashed this name, but the fans were chanting CM Punk, CM Punk, CM Punk. And Shane McMahon, I will say this, he handled it probably in the best way by saying, I don't think he's in this tournament. Which honestly was one of those things where I'm like, you know what? He's right. He's not bashing CM Punk. He's not berating CM Punk. He's not, he's kind of acknowledging him in a way. But, it's not one of those things where he was trying to, make fun of CM Punk. He really wasn't. It was just one of those things where he was just stating the fact. He's like, I don't think he's in this tournament, though. So, it was kind of one of those things. I would have loved it if they would have chanted, Chris Jericho, or Y2J, because that would have been awesome. Maybe Jericho's going to make an appearance at Crown Jewel. Who knows? Maybe he'll just win the tournament and just leave WWE again. Who knows? Who really knows? It'll be interesting to see what ends up happening. We have the main event here in which we see Randy Orton defeating Jeff Hardy. It's one of those things where a lot of people were kind of disappointed at this because they were hoping that it was going to be a deal in which maybe the Hell in a Cell was going to be like their last hoorah or something like that. I don't know. It was kind of one of those things where nobody was really looking forward to this. And I really did not pay too much attention, except for the ending where we see a move that we haven't seen in over 10 years, which I guess I will say this was kind of cool. Jeff Hardy went for the Twist of Fate. Randy Orton countered that into the RKO. Honestly, it's not as good as the way that they did it at Royal Rumble 10 years ago, but it was still kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, that is still a pretty good counter. I'm not going to lie. So Smackdown really did not get me too amped up. It really didn't get me too excited. This is kind of one of the more sloppier Smackdown Lives, and I'm kind of surprised by that. So I did forget to mention this. So Samoa Joe. There has been rumors that he is actually working with a minor injury, but he is scheduled to be back on house shows probably within the next couple days, if I'm not mistaken. And it may, in fact, be due to the fact that he may have had a concussion, he may have had a leg injury, something like that. One of the things that somebody actually pointed out when I was reading up on this was, and this was actually very true, is that when WWE talks about injuries, they can talk about like an ankle injury, they can talk about like a separated shoulder, they can talk about this, that, but they really seldom nowadays talk about concussions. They really do. It's one of those things where I kind of think to myself, when was the last time that I heard somebody suffered a concussion? I think it's been years probably since they've mentioned that. Now, maybe it's because they have been having a good track record of not having concussions, but at the same time, it's still one of those things where it's like, well, why is that? If it is concussions, why aren't WWE giving us that kind of update? And I don't know. It's really weird. But hopefully that is not the case. I know that we had a deal now. Obviously, one matchup that has changed since we did predictions, myself and King Ricky. One thing that has actually changed was the fact that Alexa Bliss has been taken out and Alicia Fox has been put in her place. So I think that is definitely going to be one of those things where people are going to be like, well, this is going to be obvious that, Mickie James and Alicia Fox are losing, which sucks because I think that if Alexa Bliss was in it, more people probably would be invested and more people would probably think like, oh, it's a 50-50 chance that they could go either way. But now it's kind of one of those things where it's drastically shifted to one side, and that being Trish and Lita. I know they're still going to put on a really good matchup. Don't get me wrong. But it's just one of those things where it's like, it kind of sucks because now Alexa Bliss is going to be at ringside. She's probably not happy with the fact that she probably ended up with some kind of injury. I know that somebody mentioned that it was a concussion as well as a broken nose from working house shows. I don't know. I don't know the full details about this, but it's still one of those things where it sucks because I know that so many women want to compete at WWE Evolution. They would love to get that. But unfortunately, some people they have bad relations with WWE. Some people just are not even WWE's radar. I hate that. But it's just one of those things where it sucks when you don't get all the women that you really wanted involved in this. Alright, so now from there we can move on to Lucha Underground, who had only one match for that entire event. I think there was only like one segment and one match in that entire deal. And it was the matchup for the Gift of the Gods Championship. We had Aerostar versus Big Bad Steve versus Dante Fox, King Cuerno, PJ Black, Jake Strong, and Hernandez. This is a perfect example of how a matchup should definitely go down. It's a matchup that lasted for a full hour for a prestigious title. Now, I'm going to try to remember most of the results here. I believe that Hernandez actually was the first one that was eliminated. I think he went for a border toss, but got caught with I think it was a backslide or some kind of roll-up and got eliminated. After that, I do believe Big Bad Steve got eliminated. And I think it might have been either, I think it was PJ Black, and then it was followed up by Aerostar. Then they had King Cuerno, and then it ended with Dante Fox getting lastly eliminated. So the match itself, like I said, was a spectacular deal. Everybody had a point in which they all created a moment for themselves to really stand out in this matchup. PJ Black was taking everybody to Dick Kick City. Props to Brian Zane on that. Definitely deserves all the credit for that. Go check out his stuff. Like, comment, subscribe to his channel, and also buy his t-shirts. They are awesome. We see Big Bad Steve. Big Bad Steve was one of those guys who just really kind of stuck out to me because he didn't really seem like he had too much of a character, but he was one of those guys that stood out because a lot of people really enjoyed what he was doing. He was just kind of this guy who brought in like the hardcore aspect of it, and he did an absolutely fantastic job of it. It was really cool to see that. Aerostar had a moment during the matchup in which he was up on a forklift. He had like it was like a forklift that had a pallet. Drago was wearing a construction worker's hat. Oh my gosh, I will say this again, guys. That is one of the best things that you would ever see. A guy who basically is literally part dragon, dressed up in a silly vest, and he has a hard head helmet on, and he's got like two little holes there that are for his horns. It's just so funny just seeing that. But, it's still one of those things where it's like, for a brief moment, it's funny, but then you realize, oh, crap, this is a guy who's part dragon. Oh, geez, I'm scared now. But, there's a lot of good stuff. Aerostar, like I said, took a dive from, I think I want to say, like, maybe 20 feet off. It was a scary, dive. King Cuerno doing what King Cuerno does, and that's just being an excellent hunter. Dante Fox, once again, proving that he is going to put his body on the line for everything. It's just insane what he does. And, of course, Jake Strong just proving that he would love nothing more than to just wreck everybody's ankle. That's basically what it is. And it's kind of one of those things where you look at it and you are so impressed by how much Jake Strong has evolved since leaving WWE as Jack Swagger. He has definitely come out as his own, as a ruthless guy who will do anything to get his, to get what he wants, and that is the Lucha Underground Championship. Now he is the Gift of the Gods champion, and guys, this is one of the first few times I've heard just an enormous amount of boos from the temple. It is one of those things where I was completely in shock by this. So many people were just, boo, boo, boo. Nobody wanted it. And that's just one of those things where it's like, this is why Lucha Underground is amazing, because they can get a reaction out of people, whether it's a good reaction or whether it's a bad reaction. Whatever you want to say, it's just really good seeing that. So we see that, and it's just literally one of those moments where you're like, wow, this is really cool. So from there, we have a segment with, I believe it was Aerostar and Johnny Mundo. Basically, Aerostar is saying, there's no way that you can beat him by your ability alone. And one thing that actually stood out during this deal was, I remember the opening package showed a lot of things. It showed a bit of King Cuerno, the fact that he had the gauntlet that Cage had, where I think it's almost like one of those things that gives him like eternal power or something like that. I don't know. It's a really weird gauntlet that just I'm trying to understand what it's all about. But I will tell you guys this: that gauntlet makes an appearance again, because Aerostar says that in order to beat Matanza, you're going to need a little extra firepower. And Drago came in. He gives Johnny Mundo the gauntlet. He puts it on. Johnny Mundo puts it on. He is just loving it. He is loving the power. He's literally like a kid that gets a really powerful toy. It's kind of like when a little kid has. I want to say here. Let's see. Like when a kid has little tools, and then they get control of like daddy's big tools. They're just kind of like, oh. That's literally how I can describe Johnny Mundo's reaction here. And basically, Drago just has that deal where he's like, hey, is this a good idea? And then Aerostar's just like, beats me. It's kind of one of those things where like, oh god, you don't even know if this is a good idea. You guys are idiots. Are you kidding me? You probably just gave Johnny Mundo an unfair advantage against the god known as Matanza. It is legitimately going to be one of those matches that I'm going to be thinking, oh boy, I feel like this is a shoo-in for Johnny Mundo to win. But we'll wait and see. Because Ultima Lucha Cuatro will take place starting this week, you guys. It is the only 1 hour this week. And then next week, it will be a 2-hour event. But I consider this past week to be for part one of the Ultima Lucha, because the Gift of the Gods Championship is definitely prestigious, and that matchup was awesome. But this week we will have, so far they've announced 2 matches for Ultima Lucha Cuatro Part 1 this week, in which they will have the 3-way elimination tag match, in which we will see the Rabbit Tribe versus the Reptile Tribe versus Ivelisse, Exolicious, and Lucas Guevara, I believe it is. No, it's I'm trying to remember. I think that's his name. Gosh, I want to get his name right. I feel bad. Sammy Guevara. There we go. Sammy Guevara. There we go. And the main event is headlined for that show to be the mask versus mask match between Killshot and Son of Havoc. Somebody in that match is going to lose their mask. And it is legitimately going to be one of those situations where I am going to be interested to see how somebody looks without their mask. But now, also, they're going to forfeit their heritage, they're going to forfeit their identity. It is going to be an absolutely insane deal. I am looking forward to seeing what happens. I am looking forward to seeing what goes down. It's just going to be an incredible night. All right, so we go into the Impact Wrestling results. I am trying to get my results up here, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be doing that. I do. Oh, nope. There we go. So Impact had quite a pretty good matchup between Trevor Lee and Sami Callihan, in which Sami Callihan would hit his Cactus Special Pile Driver on Lee to pick up the victory. Another really good matchup in there, but also it's featured, I'm trying to remember what her name was, Scarlett Bordeaux, because she's doing this deal where she's doing like a talent scouting deal, but you can actually send your video to her. I think it's in Scarlett at ImpactWrestling.com. You can send a video to them about why you think that you should be the talent that she picks. I don't think I'm going to really do that because it's just one of those things where it's like, having a beautiful woman is nice, but it's not one of those things that would just bring you full happiness. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, thanks, but no thanks. I don't know why. But after the matchup, X Division champion Brian Cage comes into the ring. He attacks Callihan and OVE. Cage would hit an F5, but then when he's trying to hit the drill claw on Callihan, Jake and Dave Christ save him from that. So there is a lot going on between Brian Cage and Sami Callihan and OVE. There's still unfinished business. It's going to be an absolutely crazy deal. Because you have to remember that OVE actually defeated, I think it was Brian Cage, Phoenix, and Pentagon Jr. at Bound for Glory. And Sami Callihan actually pinned Brian Cage. So it's kind of one of those things where he is probably going to be next in line for the X Division Championship after Brian Cage retained over Rich Swann. So we'll see. Eli Drake took over commentary by forcing Don Callis out of it. Basically, he's doing a deal where it's like, hey, you know what? I still have my lawsuit being against you guys. Just remember that. All right, we have LAX taking on the heavenly bodies of Desirable Justin and Gigolo Justin. What the frick is this? That was who they were facing? Okay, then. LAX won. Bottom line. So Taya Valkyrie was confronted by Tessa Blanchard in the locker room, basically talking about how Taya mentioned the situation that, hey, I don't respect you, Tessa. And Tessa just says, I don't care what you say about her. And she actually says, hey, I'll take you on in a title match next week to prove that I am indeed, better than you, basically. So that's really cool to see. Now, there are actually going to be some Impact Wrestling TV tapings coming up in Las Vegas, November 11th through the 13th. So that is going to be really cool to see. Looking forward to that. Let's see here. Okay. Okay. So, Moose and Killer Cross are taking on KM and Fallah Bahh tonight. Ethan Page and Matt Sydal run to LAX, but LAX is just like, whatever. Rich Swann and William Mack have a toast to their recent accomplishment. And the Mack actually challenges Swann to a friendly matchup next week. Okay, that's kind of cool. We have Gama Singh versus Rohit Raju in a matchup. But then there was a mystery man who attacks Rohit from behind, causing a disqualification. Gama applauds the man, instructs him. It's just one of those things where it's like, oh, hey, there's a random deal, blah, blah, blah. The Scarlett deal. Yep, same thing. Scarlett basically is just announcing that she's going to have the fans, blah, blah, blah. Trying to think if there's anything else here. Okay, the matchup between Moose and Killer Cross versus KM and Fallah Bahh, I believe, ends in I believe it looks like it's going to be a DQ because of the fact that I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. Oh, right. So Eddie Edwards gets involved, and he's basically beating down a Moose, and there comes a point during the situation where Cross chokes out Cam to win the matchup. So it was one of those things where basically referee's distracted. Eddie Edwards takes out Moose. He and Moose are fighting on top of the roof, and we see Eddie Edwards almost get sent off a roof. It was really one of those things where it was like, well, this is very interesting. But yeah, just see, this is where it gets to be interesting. So Eddie Edwards, after that whole deal, after Moose is gone, he's just thinking to himself. So Alicia, his wife, basically is trying to see. Is basically saying you're driving me crazy, and then they both share a nice crazy kiss with each other. This is one of those things where it got weird because beforehand Alicia was just kind of like, I don't want anything to do with you, I don't want to talk to you, I don't want to do anything. But this now is one of those situations where she gets a kiss from her husband, and now she's kind of like, okay, I'm starting to kind of like this crazy side. And Eddie Edwards says this crazy line of, it's like, I'm crazy about you. But that was cheesy. All right. Now, this is really cool. Jordan Grace, who a lot of people you might remember from the All In show, is actually going to be coming to the Knockouts division. And, yeah, it's going to be really cool. I remember her making that announcement. I think it was a week ago when they made the announcement that she was going to be a part of Impact. So that's going to be really cool to see. I'm very interested in seeing what she delivers to the Knockouts division, and it's going to be probably anything but graceful, but she's going to grace us with her presence. Okay, I'm done making puns. So Kiera Hogan took on Su Yung in a matchup where it was very interesting. It was a good match between the two of them. Allie was trying to basically, back off Su Yung from Kiera Hogan, but Su Yung basically makes eye contact with Allie, and Allie, after losing her soul and after everything that happened last week where she attacked Alicia after defeating her, she has this kind of weird kind of mindset right now. So Su Yung kind of looks into Allie's eyes, and Allie kind of just steps back in fear. It's kind of one of those things where it's like the demon that she's battling is standing right in front of her, I guess. So, kind of interesting to see that deal. But Su Yung would hit the panic switch on Kira for the victory. And it's one of those things where it's kind of interesting. I don't know. I'm very interested in seeing where this is going. Also, I'm hoping that we get Rosemary back in Impact because as cool as it was to see her Bound for Glory, it's like, oh, come on. I want the Demon Assassin back in Impact Wrestling. I want her just to just take names, kick ass again, and become Knockouts champion. Try to convince me that you do not want to see Tessa Blanchard versus Rosemary. That would just be awesome. Oh my God. Please give it to me. We had the main event, which was the matchup between the world champion Johnny Impact versus Phoenix for the title. A really good matchup between these two guys. I love the chemistry that Johnny Impact and Phoenix have with each other. They are absolutely amazing. In the end, we would see Phoenix unfortunately make a miscalculation, and he would end up getting hit with a Starship Pain by Impact to retain the title. Post-matchup, we see the OGs, including Eddie Kingston, so Homicide, Hernandez, and Eddie Kingston, they get involved. They beat down on Phoenix, but then Pentagon Jr. would come in to make the save, causing them to just basically flee. After that, though, we also see Killer Cross laying out Johnny Impact. And the question is he coming for the world title? Honestly, I'm very interested in seeing how that goes. So, honestly, it's a pretty decent episode of Impact. A lot of very interesting twists and turns here and there. Yeah, but I will have more in-depth. Honestly, guys, I've been actually doing a lot more of my results via the online deal instead of having them right in front of me, ready to go. But I will have them all ready for next week, so nobody needs to worry about that. Anyway, so before I go, I am going to be talking a little bit about Evolution. Of course, it is live on the WWE Network for the low, low price of, you guessed it, $9.99. For new subscribers, it is completely free. You can watch it for free on the network. I'm looking to see if there's no new people announced for the Battle Royal. Like I said, they have the 6-woman tag featuring Keem. I've called them the boss hugging kittens, I guess we'll call them. I don't know. Versus the Riot Squad. The historic women's battle royal. Yeah, the most historic since WrestleMania 25, where you had a man win it. And I swear if you try to do that again with this matchup, I'm going to be pissed. We have the tag team matchup with Trish Stratus and Lita taking on Mickie James and Alicia Fox. Alexa Bliss is supposed to be in their corner. I'm thinking that's still the case. The Mae Young Classic Finals for 2018. Toni Storm versus Io Shirai. We have the NXT Women's Championship, in which it features Kairi Sane versus Shayna Baszler. The last woman standing matchup for the SmackDown Live Women's Championship, Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair, which is honestly the best told matchup in this entire event. So definitely hoping to see more from this. And I think that after this matchup is over, everything is all said and done. That's going to be the end of the Charlotte versus Becky feud for now. And the supposed main event is Ronda Rousey versus Nikki Bella for the Raw Women's Championship. It is honestly a pretty solid card still, even with some of the changes, even with the disappointment that we have with another battle royal. I think it could still be an absolutely tremendous night. Honestly, I think it's going to still be another 4-hour show. So they have 4 hours to work 7 matches, which means, I think that most of them would have to last at least, 20 to 30 minutes, maybe. I would think. So that will be nice. At least I hope it lasts that long. I think that some of these matches definitely do deserve that. Honestly, if they have like a whole entire hour blocked off for Becky and Charlotte, I would totally be okay with that, because that could be a matchup that could blow the Okada Omega match out of the water. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So, like I said, guys, check out the predictions in our recent episodes. Be sure to follow me on Twitter on Real Effin' Game, and give me a shout out. I'll give you a shout out. Feel free to hit me up. Also, give us a like on our Facebook fan page, which is facebook.com/changingupthegame. You can always find us on Spreaker.com, as well as on YouTube, as well as iHeartRadio. So thank you so much, guys, for listening in, and happy Evolution Day. Remember that tonight, immediately after Evolution ends, I will be doing a live post-show reaction podcast with Chad Knight. We will be talking about Evolution in its entirety, and we will be talking about the ups, the downs, and overall if it was a successful event or if it was a failure. So tune in, you guys. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.